Well, good morning. This is Lloyd from Lima Charlie, and I'm glad you joined me today. I wanted to go over with you some of the maintenance I recently did, actually within the last few days on the motor. It was time for a tune-up and replacing some of the parts that were scheduled to be replaced or adjusted or whatever, and I have set a time frame of 50 hours to do that. So let me show you what I've done, and I know this is not exactly the best type of reporting, but I'm telling you about this and showing you this after the fact, because it did not all go smoothly, and I had a tough time in certain areas, and I'll explain that as we go on. But and I'll show you all of these parts, but I replaced the condenser, which goes inside the distributor cap and provides the energy for the spark to the spark plugs. I replaced the spark plugs with new ones, and again, this has been about 50 hours. Obviously, I gapped those to 35 thousandths, and then I replaced the points, and those were gapped at 18 thousandths, and that's those. I also replaced the impeller in the raw water pump. This one actually, this is the old one, and this actually turned out looking pretty good. So I'm definitely going to keep it as a backup. I won't use it as a replacement, but if the other one were to fail somehow, the replacement were to fail, then I would at least have this one as a backup. And that's also true for the other parts that I just showed you, the condenser, the points, and on and on. On the cap and on the back of the raw water pump, which I'll show you in a minute, there is a small, very, very flimsy gasket that goes inside the cap. And you need to, once you put that in the groove in the cap, you need to put a little bit of lubrication on the gasket as you tighten it back up with the thumb screws, so that it doesn't scoot out of place and leak. And then lastly, this is the fuel canister filter. So the fuel line comes in from the gas tank, goes through a hose to the fitting that this screws into. The gas goes inside this canister, comes out the other side, and goes to the fuel pump. And the fuel pump then pumps it on into the carburetor. And this is the thing that gave me the most trouble. Why, you ask? Well, what happened is this did not have any gas in it, of course, when I put it on and screwed it into position. And so the gas, trying to get to this to fill it up as I turned the motor over, created a vacuum between the gas tank, or the filler neck actually, the gas tank, the fuel line, and this. So there was a vacuum in the line, and what happened is I started the motor after I'd done all of the work, and the motor ran for just a few minutes until it had exhausted all of the fuel that was in the fuel pump, and then shut down. And when I tried to turn it over again and restart it using the choke, using the throttle, you name it, it would not start. So my assumption was that a vacuum had been created in that area that I had just told you about. So what I did is I loosened what I did today. After going through all of this, I loosened the gas tank or the gas cap, allowing air to come in there and flow through. And sure enough, when I started the motor, it ran just perfectly. So if you're ever replacing this component in your fuel system, be sure to loosen your gas tank. If in fact you have the same problem that I had, loosen your gas cap, and that will allow gas to flow. Air allows it to flow, and you won't have any trouble. So hopefully I suffered on your behalf. But anyway, that's it as far as what I did, and now I'll show you where all of this stuff is, where it goes, and a little bit more about it. So let's go take a look at the motor. Okay, so here we are back in the hole, and that is the distributor that you're looking at. This is the condenser that I replaced. These are the points that I replaced, and that is the rotor that I replaced. So the way that you set the points and create that gap in the points, the 18 thousandths that I talked about, is that you turn the motor manually, not with the starter, and wait until the camshaft, the cam that's inside the distributor, runs vertically out of the motor. You turn that until the lobe, there's 4 lobes because there's 4 cylinders. So you turn it until any one of the lobes are at the highest point, pushing the points apart, and then you use a feeler gauge to measure that gap. And there's an adjustment screw down here on the side, if you can see it, that allows you to open or close the points to the proper gap. And so that's the adjustment on the points, on the points, and all of the components that go in there. And then the distributor cap, which, by the way, also I failed to mention, I also replaced the distributor cap. So everything having to do with the ignition pretty much was replaced. And there you can see the plugs, and these are the new plugs that I installed into the motor. And then I think lastly is the water pump, the raw water pump. You can see that the water comes in from the ocean through this pipe, this tube, goes into a filtration system, leaves the filtration system through this hose and fitting, and here is the pump itself. Put a little light on the subject, if I can get it to stay. And those are the 4 thumb screws I was talking about, and you loosen those and remove this cover, and inside the cover is that paddle wheel looking impeller that I showed you earlier. And so you pull the old one out, stick the new one in, put the new gasket on the inside of this cover, and then screw the thumb screws back in place, tighten them down, and that is all that is required for that. And then over here, actually that was not lastly, over here is that canister I showed you earlier, and here is the bracket or fitting or whatever you want to call it that it screws into. and you can see the hose coming out of the gas tank, entering into the fitting, filling up that canister with gasoline, and then it comes out on the other side and goes down to the fuel pump. And over there against the bulkhead, you can see the filter, the fuel filter that I use, and I did replace that as well. It's an inline filter, so this is a primary filter where in the canister, and then the gas comes out of this canister, goes down into the fuel pump, comes out of the fuel pump, and before it enters the carburetor, this is the filter that is a secondary filter that filters out anything that the primary filter did not catch. And then it leaves that filter, goes down through that tube and to the carburetor. So that is what I did. It took me about 2 days, and it was because of the fuel canister primarily, it was harder than what it should have been. But it's done now, and I've got another 50 hours to enjoy before I have to do it again. I think we've talked about the compartment that I'm working on here behind the starboard side settee. And if you'll recall, the last time you saw this, the ceiling here was kind of a chocolate brown. This was black and still is black. And the shelf here was a chocolate brown as well. One of my favorite colors, not really. But anyway, so in my last video, I think it was, I said that I was going to paint the back wall here, which again is the hull of the boat. I was going to paint it all white and that kind of thing, and paint this white, which I did, and the shelf white, which I did. I was going to put a shelf doubler on here, I had said, and I decided against that. I decided to simply repair some of the defects in the shelf because it wasn't in all that bad a shape, and there was only rot down at this end, and you can see that I did replace the very end here where it was rotted, but the rest of the shelf is in pretty good shape. So I simply repaired it, painted it with Kilz to prime it, and then I painted it with a semi-gloss white paint. I did the same thing around the border of the back wall here because there is, and I don't know if you can see it here, but between my middle finger and thumb is a probably quarter-inch, not quarter-inch, maybe 3/32 inch thick board that went across the that goes across the back wall there, and because of that, if I were to paint the whole wall white, this would really show, and it would look like, why is that there? So I decided instead to make a back wall doubler, if you will, that would hold a material, which the material, if you'll look at it there, is just like, it's the same material as this, which are the, this is one of the panels that will go on the port side behind the, or above the settee on the port side. So anyway, I had extra fabric left over, so I decided to go ahead, and what I did, and believe me, I agonized over this for quite a while trying to figure out how I was going to do it. But I went to a office supply store, and I bought this board. I think it's used as a whiteboard, but it's just a fairly thin piece of paper on the front and back of a piece of thin foam.
This is probably a 1/4 inch thick. And like I said, I had material left over. I bought myself some spray glue, and we attached the material to the board and trimmed it. And you can see here that it looks pretty darn good. It looks a lot better, I'm sure, than what it would if we were to have just painted it. So I'll try and, with one hand, put this up here. Before I do so, you can see these 2 wires here. Those go to the positioning lights on the port and starboard positioning lights up on the bow. Those are the only working wires that were here. There was a bundle of, I don't know, maybe, I'm not going to be able to get this up there, but you get the general idea. But anyway, those are the only wires that were active. The other wires went to things that either didn't work or things that I didn't want to have anymore. So now this is what that back wall will look like, and pretty much that's it. The next project is to build a wooden frame that will fit right here, vertical from the front of the shelf up to the top here. And it will be made out of mahogany, and it will just be a couple of vertical pieces over here, 2 horizontal pieces top and bottom, and then over here there'll be a 10-inch diameter, actually on both ends, a 10-inch diameter piece of redwood that will go from bottom to top, and it will have a hinged door, if you will, embedded in that, that the radio will mount into. And if I need to access the back of the radio wiring or anything like that, I'll be able to just fold the radio out, so to speak, open it up and be able to reach back in there and do what I need to do. But I'm real pleased with the way this has turned out so far. It's just a massive improvement over what I had before. So I still need to put some stain and varnish on this piece of wood here that you can see. You can see that some of the paint chipped out here. That's no big deal, because once I get the wood frame in place, there'll be a wood strip that goes all the way across, hiding all of that. One last note would be on the upholstery. In a previous video some time ago, I had said that I was going to have the cushions, the settee cushions, replaced with new foam and new fabric and all that kind of stuff. And then I started to research it and found out how much it was going to cost. And I'm like, that ain't going to happen. So I took the foam out of this material. We washed and cleaned thoroughly this material, the existing material, which I think is the original material from when this boat was built. To have this recreated in the way that it was put together would be exceedingly expensive. So anyway, like I said, I took the foam out, cleaned the fabric, had the foam replaced, which was a much more acceptable price. And that's how it looks now. And it's nice and firm. It feels good to sit on. And I saved myself a ton of money. So there we are. That's an update for now, and I'll keep you posted as we go along. Wanted to bring you guys in and let you see
the project that I'm up to today. I had planned on going to the boat and doing some deck painting, but lo and behold, rain was forecast as late as yesterday. It was forecast for this afternoon, and so far I haven't seen a drop, but the thread is all I needed to keep me off the boat so far as painting outside. So I decided to stay home today and work on this. This is a table you've probably seen in previous videos. I haven't really pointed it out. But I have said previously that I wanted to cover all of this yellow mustard looking laminate with the same kind of laminate that I used on the kitchen counter, the galley counter. So I went ahead and took the table apart. This is one of those tables that slides up against the wall and locks in position when you're not using it. And then when you want to use it, you slide it out. And this is the top of it. And as you can see here, there's places for hinges, which this is one. And the hinge goes there and holds the bottom piece in place. And then if you have a party of 4 that you're gonna need some extra room with, then you can fold this out and you've got 2 pieces together. So anyway, I had enough laminate left to do the top surface. So I went ahead and cut that out, which was a project in and of itself. But I cut that out with a Dremel or with a router. And so that's ready to get glued on to the top surface. And then I took all of the hardware off of, as well, of course. And this was quite enlightening what I ran into on this. So this is the condition of these hinges that hinge various parts of this table. And when I first got them, you can see what condition they were in. And when I first looked at this, I thought that this was just a cheap brass plated hinge. And here's another one. This is the one that goes down to the very bottom and holds the table leg, which is what this is, holds the table leg to the deck or the sole of the salon. And then the other end attaches to the bottom of the table. So I decided, rather than just throwing these away, I decided that I would try buffing them out just to see what they look like. And lo and behold, this is the end product. Can you believe that? So apparently this is indeed solid brass because it's not anything plated and it cleaned up immaculately. Here are the 2 hinges that hold the 2 halves of the table together, and this one you can see I've cleaned up and polished, and that's what it looks like. And here's the before shot here. So I'm going to finish cleaning these up and get ready to reassemble this after I glue the laminate back on. But I wanted to share this project with you and let you know that I'm not going to have to go out and buy a bunch of new hinges. So I'm still working on this table to put it back in place on the boat. And what I've done so far is I kind of like refinished this piece of wood, which is a beautiful piece of wood, by the way. And I have relaminated the what will be the top. This is if the table were to be folded out. This is the actually the underneath side of this is going to be the top if you fold the table out, which I would rarely do. But anyway, I wanted to show you the hinges now that I've finished. And I bought some brass screws to attach these, so it looks pretty good. According to the pictures that I took before I dismantled this thing, this hinge seems to go on like this, kind of like upside down. I'm not positive that that's how it goes, but that seems to be what the picture shows. So I'm going to leave it like this, but you can see here that this is the underneath side of the hinge, and I did not refinish this. So if it has to go like this, I will refinish this, but we'll wait and see how things look when we get back on the boat. One of the other things I wanted to point out to you is that this thing, the entire assembly, had extra holes everywhere. So down here at the bottom, where it attaches to a sliding piece of wood on the boat, it allowing the table to come up against the bulkhead and be totally out of the way. You can see all of the holes here that existed when I pulled this off, and they're not near this many holes on the hinges. So what I did is I took a piece of dowel rod and drilled these holes out to a specific size, and then using wood glue, I glued the pieces of dowel into the holes, cut the heads off after the glue had dried with my multi-tool, my Dremel, not Dremel, DeWalt multi-tool. So I did that here, and I did that down here, and when I find out exactly what holes to use to put this back, then I'll drill these out. Looking at the pictures that I took, I can tell that these are the 4 holes, the ones that I've marked with a little circle. Those are the ones that need to be drilled out to hold the hinge. I was able to determine that from the photo I had taken. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these out now to the proper size so that I can go ahead and put one of the hinges back in place with the brass screws that I bought this morning. So this thing is going to look so much better than what it did before. I wanted to update you on a couple of projects that I completed in the last couple of weeks. Number one, and perhaps most importantly, is this these back panels here that cover the junk that's behind it on the shelf. You may recall from previous videos that I have been working on this for a very long time, way more time than what it should have taken. But I finally have it done, and I'm mostly happy with it. The eyelets in these panels don't move as freely as what I would like, but I'm learning how to use them, and because I know where most everything is behind these panels, I can pretty much go to the correct panel and find what I'm looking for. But anybody else that comes on the boat that is looking for something and I tell them it's back there, it's going to take them an hour and a half to locate it. The other project that I have completed finally is this. You may recall that this fold-out table was covered in the same yellow pukey color that the galley counter was covered in. So I was able to route out a new piece of laminate and was able to cover the top of this. Now this is the side that you'll always see unless we have company or something like that on the boat, and then we have to fold it out. And when you fold it out, guess what you get? You get the old pukey yellow stuff. But it is what it is. I'm not going to the trouble of covering this because you usually don't see it. But I do want to point out the brass hinges with bronze screws. Hopefully that's not a dissimilar metal situation and I get corrosion. I don't think I will, And if I do, I don't think I'm going to care too much. Well, yeah, I'll care a little bit. But anyway, so there it is when it's folded out, and there's a couple of supports underneath there that will hold it up. But I don't know if you've seen these kind of tables before, but it's really cool because of the fact that it does fold up. And in a situation like this where you have such limited space, anytime you can fold something out of the way, then it's a good thing. But I took this entire table off here and painted this bulkhead, and that looks pretty good. And I will try and show you how this lifts up, like so. It locks in position, and there is a brass latch down here that holds it in position. So that folds up out of the way, and you've got lots of space, and I'm just real happy with that. As far as the paint up here, you can see that I've already screwed up a couple of things here, and I'm going to have to sand and repaint this part of this bulkhead. What happened there is this. This is what I thought was the coolest clock, and I still do. But it shows you the time, the date, the temperature inside. There's a sensor outside that shows you the temperature outside. It gives you a weather forecast, barometer reading, and humidity and that kind of stuff. So anyway, this runs off battery as well as plugs in. So I thought that I would just use the battery part of it. And I did, and I hung it up here, and it looked so cool. The only problem is that when you're using just the battery, the screen doesn't illuminate as brightly. It's on like a power saver thing. So I ended up not being happy with that because I couldn't see it clearly enough. So I plugged it in, and it sits over here on top of the refrigerator because that's the closest outlet, AC outlet that I have. So that's that, and I will likely go to a place up in Orange County that is a surplus, marine surplus stuff, and I'm going to try and find something decorative that's a nautical theme to put up here, and maybe something to go over here as well. But that's just fine tuning, and we're good to go for now. So today we're conducting an experiment, and hopefully it works out. This is something that I saw on YouTube. Where else do I get an education? Anyway, this is a line that was on the boat when I bought it, and it's quite long. I can't remember exactly how long it is, but my plan is to use this to replace the head sail sheets that, which is the sheets or the ropes that you pull the head sail out with, if you didn't know. And anyway, so this was on the boat when I bought it, and I've just kind of kept it off to the side thinking that I would use it at some point. So the lines on my head sail now at this point in time are kind of frayed, so I'm going to use this to replace them. I have measured this out, and I know that it's going to be long enough. And what I want to do is have just one line that goes through the clew of the head sail, and it comes from there and goes to both sides of the boat. Right now I have two lines that knot themselves around the clew of the head sail and then come back to the winches in the cockpit. But I saw again on YouTube that you can run this through the clue or the eye of the head sail and just have one continuous line. What that accomplishes and the benefit of it is that when you deploy the head sail, typically the windward side will catch on the shroud lines, which are the vertical cables that hold the mast in place. It'll catch on those and get caught. So hopefully that new knot will avoid that. So, but nonetheless, let's get back to the experiment for the day. So I looked online and found out how how some people cut these lines and seal the ends of them so that this doesn't happen. It doesn't come unraveled. You can see that this one is taped, and then the other line you can see is already sealed. I'm assuming with heat because it has kind of a sharp little edge to it. So the instructions on the YouTube video are to heat a knife. So we have said knife and we have said heat. And we're going to see if we can slice through this line and seal it on the end. So are you ready? Let's give it a try. So, by the way, this is just a piece of sheet steel here. So let's turn the gas on. Heat the knife up. Uh-oh. It's definitely cutting through it, and it's kind of sticky and gooey inside. Looks like it's going to take one more heating stage. Bingo. Check it out. Dirty, but it's definitely not going to come apart. I have totally gooed up my knife, but I don't usually use that anyway. So there we go, folks. 2 pieces, sealed, ready to go on the boat.